If you want to really connect with your masculinity, boost your testosterone, develop confidence, live a more inspired and driven life, then it's really good for you as a man to spend time with other men. Welcome, I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can manifest your ideal life. If you want to learn more about sexual and self-mastery, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified when I release new videos and go live. Make sure you get my free ejaculation control course through the link in the video description below. In this video, I want to talk about the importance of men's work and brotherhood in this modern world we live in. If you want to really connect with your masculinity, boost your testosterone, develop confidence, live a more inspired and driven life, then it's really good for you as a man to spend time with other men. Spend time with other men who are on a similar path as you. It's becoming clear to me just how important this is for us men in the modern world to be connected with each other as fellow men, as brothers, to be able to share our experiences, to share our struggles and our victories with each other, and to do practices together. So I recently put on a sexual kung fu men's retreat here in Asheville, North Carolina a few months ago, and it was such a powerful experience. I knew it was going to be an amazing experience, but just how deep we all went together into the work and the transformation that I saw the other men go through and that I went through myself, it was very profound. And I've been to a lot of retreats and different trainings myself, in-person events, but this was on another level for me. And it just made me realize the potential of this work and how important it is as men on this path to connect with other men as part of our own healing and awakening to our highest potential in this lifetime. So what do I really mean by men's work? I think any sort of space where men are coming together with some sort of common goal around self-development, around becoming better leaders, better partners, better husbands, fathers, better members of their community, better business owners, whatever. I think this is a very important thing because, first of all, just having the space to connect with other men. When men spend time together, it releases testosterone. When you're around other men, more testosterone is released into your blood. Helps you connect with your masculine energy and creates a positive influence in your life as well. This is a huge thing I think that a lot of us in this world that we live in lacked in our younger years was healthy masculine influence and leadership. Something that's really come into my awareness is how a lot of our fathers were too busy to be there for us. In this modern world of people working, 9-to-5 jobs or working, 50, 60 hours a week, whatever, a lot of people's fathers or their parents in general just weren't there a lot when they were kids. And this caused them to never really have this positive masculine influence in their lives. For me personally, my dad's a great guy, but he was very, very busy. As a farmer, he was always out working in the fields. We didn't spend a whole lot of time together in my very young years. And I see now that I had a lot more influence from my mom and my three sisters, and I kind of lacked a bit of masculine influence in my life, and that led to me having more feminine tendencies, led to me becoming a bit of a nice guy and all these things. And looking back in my teenage years, most of my male influences were like the people I looked up to were like rock stars, taking drugs and things like this. Not necessarily the healthiest influence. I mean, I feel like I'm an old man. Kids and their rock and roll, but you know what I mean? It's like we often lack, I guess, positive role models in general, but especially healthy masculine leadership and influence in our lives. And so if you lack that in your childhood or your teenage years, you can create it now for yourself by finding other men who are on a similar path to you, coming together and bonding. One of the most important things here, I think, is building this idea of collaboration over competition. Men are often very, very competitive. And there's definitely a healthy aspect to competition when it drives you to become a better version of yourself. It drives you to, work harder and things like that. But it can also become very toxic, very negative, and you're pushing other people down to try to make yourself feel better. When you're insulting other people, like, oh, you do that so stupidly. For example, when you're on social media tearing up other people's channels because, very stupid shit just to try to make yourself look better. So this I would consider unhealthy, kind of toxic, competitive mindset. And when it prevents you from connecting with other men, this is another very common thing is I noticed I had this pattern of being very judgmental of other men, being like, oh, well, he's not as evolved as I am or as conscious, this bullshit stories that we tell ourselves. And I would shut myself down. I would prevent myself from connecting with other men. And it was really this wounded inner child I had that was afraid to be vulnerable, afraid to connect with other men. I noticed this pattern where I would often be a bit judgmental of a man without having ever spent time with him. And then once I actually spent time with him, I'd be like, oh, he's a great guy. Like, why did I have all these judgments and stories? This is stupid. And I think this is a very common thing for men to have. And so this idea of collaboration over competition is that, what do we have to gain by trying to push everyone else down and well, I'm the best at this, so no one else can be. we don't have anything to gain. This old idea of like Darwinism, survival of the fittest, where all of nature is like in competition with each other. But the reality is that nature is in collaboration with each other. It's the system of harmony, all these different, groups of species, plants, minerals, animals working together like cells in a cosmic organism. We are all cells in this cosmic organism. And what happens when the cells are just fighting each other, killing each other, trying to push each other down? We could call that cancer, autoimmune disorder. The whole organism dies. Interesting to think about that, right? So the idea is that we have more to gain by respecting each other, by working together, by seeing how instead of, worrying that if another man's good at this thing, it means that I have to be bad at it. That's bullshit. If you're both gifted at something, you come together and share your experience, then you have even more to offer the world. The world benefits, right? So this idea of collaboration over competition, I think, is very healthy masculinity, and is really one of the directions the world has to go if it doesn't want to destroy itself in fanatical war or something like that. And a very, very important part of this men's work that I'm really seeing and experiencing, having led groups of men through my own courses and things like that online, but also obviously doing the work in person, which is most powerful, is having some sort of space where people are able to express themselves and be vulnerable, especially in this line of work, sexual kung fu, sexual energy development. There's so much shame, there's so much trauma, there's so much guilt and just weirdness around our sexual patterns. We're so embarrassed about this stuff because we never had a space to talk about it. Our parents told us, I don't want to hear about that. They were afraid to talk to us about sexuality, and society in general, it's a suppressed thing. So we feel all this embarrassment and the shame around our sexual issues, really all of our issues. And when you have a space, this was one of the most, has been one of the most profound things to me in the past few years. I've been, working with men from around the world, coming together, doing this work of self-development and sexual liberation, is when someone shares, they're going through some deep struggle, like they're talking about they've had a porn addiction or, an obsessive masturbation or premature ejaculation. And it's often something that they've held inside. They've been afraid to talk to anyone about it because people will judge me. They'll think there's something wrong with me. This is so shameful. And then they have this space where they talk about it. It can be painful. Sometimes there's tears and there's this deep vulnerability with it. And you know what? No one judges them because we are all been through the same things ourselves. In this line of work, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever weird sexual stuff you've been through, I had it 10 times worse. And once that person creates that sharing and they see, oh, you know what? I wasn't judged for this. I wasn't shamed for this. It's very healing, especially to see every other man says, yep, I experienced that too. I had it even worse. It's very healing. And you see that, oh, we're all just human. I don't need to shove these things down inside myself anymore. There is a group that I can express these things with. It gets it off my chest. And I hear feedback from other people on how they dealt with these things and how they're on this journey with this. And it's incredibly healing. It's incredibly healing. And one of the greatest challenges in our world right now is, I think, this kind of digital virtual reality that, a lot of people are starting to live in. Social media, obviously, I can't say social media is bad or that social media is the greatest thing ever, right? Because it's kind of a double-bladed sword. Without social media, you wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have a platform to share what I've been sharing with the world for the past few years. So, that's a really, really great aspect. But the potential downside is that this kind of virtual reality that people get stuck in when they're just scrolling every day, looking at their feed all day, they get lost in comparing themselves to others, saying, oh my gosh, look at this guy's body. I'm worthless compared to this person, comparing themselves to others, putting themselves down on this digital sexual stimulation, oh my God, look at this Instagram booty model, this Pornhub, I could just click here and, oh my God, it's too much, Our receptors get overstimulated. Addictive patterns around social media. Spending more time in this digital world actually disconnects you from your humanness, from your body and your mind and your ability to feel the breeze in the air, like right now. Are you paying attention to your breath? Are you paying attention to the sensations of the air, the beating of your heart? Probably not, right? We get so disconnected from ourselves with social media. So coming together in real life with people, and it's great, doing things online and, having online groups, things like that. It's second best, I will say. That's great as well, because there's at least the space for human connection. Again, I run group calls with my course Multi-Orgasmic Man every 2 weeks, and we have a lot of amazing connections in that as well. But the most powerful thing is when you're in person, doing the work, connecting with other people who are on a similar path. The thing is that everyone's quite different from you. This is the amazing thing about this retreat I did, was just how different everyone's background background was, from high-level military to ex-NFL player to counselor, therapist, tech experts, just a whole broad spectrum, people on very, very different walks of life. But there's this thing that we all have in common. There's always something you have in common with people. There's another thing in the world right now is like, we're creating all these separations, like, oh, you're a Democrat, well, I'm a Republican, we can't get together. I mean, that's the classic, but all kinds of things like this. You know what I mean? It's like we create these divisions between us. And so because this person has a certain title they identify with, it means that this other group of people now, they cannot get along, right? So it's a very outdated way of thinking, in my opinion. When you can find the common ground between you and other people, see, okay, well, sure, we can have our disagreements, but like, for example, doing the work of sexual kung fu, you'll be amazed at the different backgrounds of people. I've seen people of all walks of life, all age groups, all races, all religions, because this is, something that we all want, is to maybe just have a bit more pleasure, maybe to have non-ejaculatory orgasms, maybe to channel our sexual energy into spiritual cultivation, creativity, whatever. We're all on this path with this common ground together. This is the beauty of like, getting back to this idea of men's work, having like practices you're doing together. This is something I really realized was how, for most people, like we could say kind of a social glue. Because when you're with a new group of people, you need to kind of tune in together. First, it's kind of like edgy. You're like, I don't know if I like this person. But when you can tune in together, that's when you start to resonate, right? And what do most people do this with? Alcohol, right? You drink alcohol, it puts you all on a similar vibrational level, and you can just bullshit with anyone, right? And this became a challenge for me when I stopped drinking. Was like, well, how do I like socially, connect with people, because they're just fucking drunk and I don't drink anymore. But what I realized was like, for example, the retreat, we're doing Qigong together. We're doing, transformational breath work together. We're going deep into these meditative practices, and it tunes us all into the same wavelength. And by the end of the retreat, like everyone, it just felt like we were brothers that had known each other for a lifetime. It was amazing, like the connection, the community, the brotherhood of it all. So like getting a group of guys together, doing breath work, doing Qigong. I like to do this stuff without drugs. I know a lot of people are into like plant medicines, things like that. That's cool, but maybe it's beers and football, that's fine. Maybe it's ayahuasca and ecstatic dance, that's fine. But for me, it's Qigong, it's breath work, it's pumping the chi through the orbit, baby. And when you do that with a group of people, you resonate at the same level. So I encourage you, wherever you're at, to find groups of conscious men in your community, groups of like-minded men who are into similar things. It will make your relationships better, both your relationships with other people and your relationships with your partner, because when you spend time with men, it charges you up with this masculine energy. Then you come back to your partner, and the polarity in your relationship is very strong and charged up. And I also want to share here that I'm going to be putting together several retreats, also potentially like some other meetup type things, both here and where I'm living in Asheville, North Carolina, maybe some other spots around the country, still lining up these things. But I want to do a lot more in-person work. So I'm just kind of preparing you guys to say, hey, this is coming. If you want to have a very deep, life-changing, transformational experience, connecting with amazing groups of men, join one of my future retreats, or find similar things wherever it is that you live. Giving you guys a heads up for that. It's going to be coming. I'll be announcing more of that in 2023. But with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to my channel. Give this video a like. Let me know in the comments below what your biggest takeaway from this video have been. And a huge shout out to all the guys who came to the August retreat. You were all amazing people, and I'm stoked to see you guys again. Have a good day, my friends.